Hey everybody, this is Monte Pittman. You're watching The Age of Metal. Check out my new album, The Power of Three, out on Metal Blade Records now. Thank you.
Hello everyone, this is Miguel with the Age of Metal, and I'm here in beautiful Anaheim, California at NAMM 2014 with none other than Monte Pittman. How are you doing, Monte?
Hey, good. Doing great. How are you doing?
Pretty much. I mean, you know, the first days of NAMM, the craziness in the morning, and, you know, waiting until they see the new products. But today we were talking about you and your new album, The Power of Three. But knowing that we are at NAMM, what are you doing at NAMM this year?
Well, I've got some signings, some performances, and I'm here to check out a lot of the new gear. I'm doing a signing today at Seymour Duncan at 3 o'clock. I'm doing a signing at Orange Sunday at 1 o'clock. And then I'm playing the Orange Party Friday night in Fullerton at the Slide Bar. And I'm playing the Seymour Duncan Daddario Party Saturday night at the Sheridan.
That sounds like fun.
So lots of work. Yes, lots of work.
So you're going to play a lot of stuff of The Power of Three, right?
Playing everything that we can. There's only a couple of, I mean, if we had a longer set time, we would play the entire album. But it's all new material.
Gotcha. Well, now, talking about the album, The Power of Three, the first thing that comes to my mind was the title. It refers to either Doctor Who, the ancient aliens episode, or Charm, or what exactly means. What do you mean by the power of three?
Well, there's even more to that saying, and it didn't come from. What was the other thing you said besides Doctor Who?
Ancient aliens. It was that episode about.
Oh, interesting. Wow. Well, that's good to know. No, that's a saying, kind of like a strength in numbers kind of thing. And I always get asked that question. I didn't know naming the album that. I was just going to get asked that question so much. And it's the third album. It's a three-piece band. The album was going to come out in 3 parts, but after I did an acoustic EP a couple of years ago now, and that started me and Flemming Rasmusen working together, and then that led to me doing the Power of Three, the heavy album. And that, after playing that for Brian Slagle, I got signed to Metal Blade. So that changed everything, because I was going to do a blues EP with it and kind of have 3 EPs, but just the heavy thing just took off. And once I started concentrating on that, I had kind of a full circle moment, I guess. I don't know another way to say it. But, you got 3 members in the band. It's the third album. The 3 in music, the third note tells you if it's major or minor, and I mean arguably the most important tone of the chord. So I guess it's a few things. I've got a good friend of mine is a pastor, and he said there was the whole Trinity thing, and there are all these things like that. I said, wow, I didn't even think about that, and he likes that, so I'm like, hey, if you like that, whatever you think it is, if you think that's cool, that's what it is. But yeah, from being asked this, I was like, what do I say in this answer? So, and I started looking it up, and there's a lot of things, like 2 things come together and make the third thing, and a lot of interesting things to look up.
Gotcha.
But it's my third album.
Definitely, it's a different album, and it quite powerful too. I mean, after seeing your background with Madonna and Prong. For what you understand, this album was done when you were camping at Dead Valley and you wrote the 14 songs.
Yeah, I wrote
all at the same time while you were camping, or just how was that process?
I had a couple of pieces here and there, but I put it all together on this camping, on this camping trip. Went out to Death Valley, do that every once in a while when we can, and I had my acoustic with me, and just I don't know, I was just inspired from being out and from being out there. And I wrote some acoustic songs, and then I had all these heavy songs. And like A Dark Horse and Delusions of Grandeur, that's the first 2 songs on the album. I had some of those riffs, but they weren't necessarily put into songs. and I had those riffs actually for a few years, but it wasn't anything to submit to prong when I played in prong because it was different. And I said like one day I'm gonna make a heavy album just for fun, you know, thinking just that's what I would do. But it all came together. It was like when you get a song stuck in your head, and I just had to make a demo of it, and then you write one thing. Like when I'm writing, like I'll have all my lyrics, and let's say you have the word now that you used, and then in another song you've got your other line ending in that, and so you come up with another word so you're not repeating yourself, and then that changes the meaning of the song, like all together. So it all kind of writes itself when you get it to that point.
But you got it done, all the 14s while camping, because I mean that's a huge number to get it done.
I know it's nuts, but I wrote that, wrote it that way. It was recorded in Copenhagen with Flemming. That's where we like made the album and recorded it.
Gotcha. Well, now what happened on the Power Tree that didn't happen on Pain, Love, and Destiny?
Actually, well, Flemming was going to do Pain, Love, and Destiny originally, but our schedules didn't work out. He was going to come to Los Angeles because at the time I didn't even think about going to Copenhagen, and he was going to come out and we were going to do it then. But schedules didn't work out, and that was kind of fate played its hand once again, because that's how I got my drummer, Kane Rashad, and then from Kane, that's how I got my bass player, Max Whipple, because Kane played drums on Pain, Love, and Destiny, and that's my friend Noah Shane. He's done Dead Sarah, and he did the first Skrillex album, and so he wound up producing that album, and that was made. I wanted that to be an acoustic album with drums and bass, but then some guitar solos. And I didn't even really want to make a rock album. And then he said, no, you got to put, like that's something people have been pushing me to do again. Like or really just kind of like rock, not necessarily heavy. I would use the heavy parts as like a transition, going from a verse to a chorus. Like there's a song called "I Am the Black Rabbit," and it's written from the book Watership Down. And like when you're building up, that's when you'd have a and people were like, "Oh, I like how you put those heavy metal parts." And I was just thinking, that's not. I don't think of that as heavy metal, but to a lot of my audience, they do, because they like all kinds of things, but they didn't listen to a lot of that. And so that in a way, it was a perfect way to foreshadow what was to come. So Pain, Love, and Destiny became a rock album, and I wanted to do that album to where I could play that electric, but I could play it acoustic. But I started out doing acoustic shows in my solo career, because it can be so hard getting everybody together in the same city just to rehearse, let alone be available to do a show. And everything is just kind of built up to this point.
The album was produced by Flemming Rasmusen, who has worked obviously with Metallica, Morbid Angel, and Blind Guardian. How that connection came to be, and how he came out into the picture to produce your album?
I had a day off in Copenhagen a few years. It was on a Madonna tour, and I was looking for something to do, and then I was like, wait a second, isn't Sweet Silent Studios here where they did Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets? I should go find it and get a card, or maybe they have a shirt. Maybe they have shirts or something. It'd be cool just to see where some of my favorite albums are made. So I looked it up online and I found an address. Looked up Sweet Silent Studios, found the address, and went there. And then I went to the building, and the building, there was a note saying that it was that the building was going to be sold and demolished or something. And I don't remember now if Flemming had written something on there, or maybe I'd gone back to my hotel room and then looked that up, and I found his information online, and he had said, yeah, unfortunately the building is being sold and demolished, but I'm still available for doing mixes. And I'm like, oh. And I just said, what the hell, right? So I called him and I said, hey, I was going to go try to check out your studio. I got him on the phone. He answered the phone. And I said, hey, I'm in town with Madonna, and we started talking. And I said, well, if you'd like, I wanted to invite you out to the show tomorrow. And he said he'd love to, but he was on vacation, but his daughter would want to come. So she came out, and then, that we kind of kept in touch through that here and there. And then the next time I'd be in Copenhagen, then we'd get together and have a couple of beers and just, he was starting to, be kind of interested in what I was doing. And I gave him my first solo acoustic album. And then we said, yeah, one day we gotta work on something together. We gotta record something together. Maybe do a prong album. Maybe we'll come out here or something. And that just sounded crazy, But and then it was another time that I had another day off, and we got together and recorded an acoustic EP. And I had given him all of my demos, the 14 demos that I had. And he's like, what's this heavy stuff you've got? I was like, this is something I'm just kind of doing for fun. One day I want to make a heavy album. He said, that's what you need to be doing. And when he said that, I was like, okay, yes, sir. And then we would kind of go back and forth with sound. Like when I was working on a demo, he would be like, try doing the guitars this way and take this frequency out, boost this frequency. And I had gotten a fractal Axe FX 2, and it was before the last Madonna tour, and I used that with my orange amps, and I would take the Madonna multi-tracks. Like let's say we're going to do, well, we actually did Pop It on Preach on that tour, and we did it just like the album, and that never happens. And so I took the multi-tracks and I'd pull them up in Pro Tools, and I would loop it, and then I would make a new track, and I would think like, okay, how was this guitar recorded? And a lot of the old funk pop stuff is just like a Strat direct or something like that. And so I would kind of recreate that sound in the fractal. Even if we weren't going to use it, I may use a sound on a new song or something that there's a lot of times, you're expected to be creative and come up with an idea. That's why you're there, And there's this app called Jam It. It's really cool, and you can separate the guitar. So I took I didn't. I took some other songs, but I found some tracks on their own from like Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets. I think that came from when they were on Rock Band. I guess if you lost and the other tracks that played, someone recorded them and they're on YouTube, and I recorded that. So I would take like Trapped Under Ice and Injustice for All and recreate like what I thought Metallica were doing with the tracks, and then put one on one side and one on the other, and they were identical. And I was like, check this out. And then that kind of led to us going back and forth. Oh, he's like, well, here's what I did, So I'm like, oh, really? And so I would add that to it, and it's a situation that just grew over time. And then after I got off tour, went to Copenhagen, and we knocked the album out.
Nice. Well, I mean, what was the most challenging thing at the time to record this record? Because I know that you comes from the school of rock on prog, but doing something on your own that is kind of heavy. What was the difficult part at the time to put that together?
It wasn't. I don't look back thinking it was difficult. We were just ready to go. Kane and Max were excited to do something heavy. Like the first day I met Kane, he's like, man, I want to do some heavy stuff with you. And I said, I've been kind of thinking about that. But for me, like I always had prong, and so I got it all out with that. And I grew up in Texas, and I had a heavy band there called My Remains, and we were a heavy band.
All right. Now, I know that you work with Madonna in front of thousands of people. Prog a little more had its own audience. But what is the experience of listening to Monte Pittman show? Just the band. What the people can expect on that show?
It's hard being the person putting on the show and seeing that. If you don't have song, no matter what you have, if you don't have songs, you don't have anything. So you've got the songs that are going to stick in your head. We've got some heavy thrash stuff. We've got some just straight ahead rock stuff. You're going to see musicianship, with everybody. Max is amazing on bass, Kane's amazing on drums, and actually for the shows we're doing this weekend, Aaron Rossi is playing drums because Kane has some other things that he's doing. He also plays in Portugal, the Man, and they're in Australia. So it's great having Aaron Rossi back because we both played in Prong together. So you got 2/3 of Prong at one time. We have to get Tommy Victor up there with us and do a reunion.
Nice.
But
would that ever happen?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Oh yeah, me and Tommy are on great terms. He's like the brother I never had. I never had a brother, but if I did, he'd be the guy. Yeah, we're very supportive of each other, and we've said we're going to get together and write some material again in the future. But a lot of it is schedules. Like he'll be out of town, and I'll be in town, and we just come and go at different times. And a lot of the heavy stuff I've written is like it's Monte Pittman music. It's not like Prong, so it doesn't make sense. And looking back when I've written with people before, that's why I think things didn't work. Like you'll write a song with somebody and they're like, it doesn't go with anything else I'm doing. And I think that because it sounds like something that you would hear me doing, I guess, but an earlier version of that.
Well, now that the album came out a couple days ago, are there any plans to tour the United States or tour Europe or whenever supporting this album?
I'm working on that as hard as I can and just taking it one day at a time. I've got February 22nd booked at the Whiskey. And so now I'm trying to get into San Diego and get into Phoenix and get into Vegas and get into San Francisco and just
like a West Coast
start there. And if I can get those people to return my emails, then, or if you live in those cities, you could say, hey, you need to get Monte Pittman playing
check
here.
this,
Wherever you live.
Definitely.
So once I get those, then get Albuquerque and Denver and Portland and Seattle and Texas and just take it one step at a time because I'm doing all this on my own right now.
Well, Monte, thank you very much for taking the time to speak in here with us at the H Metal here at NAMM. Good luck with your NAMM weekend. Definitely looking forward to see the Power of Three live, to see what it sounds like. Because I mean, the album definitely rocks, and it's definitely a different thing when you hear it and you're like, okay, this is the guitar player of my album, this is the guitar player of Prong. But wow, this thing sounds heavy, and we picked up by Metal Blade, so that tells a lot about the album.
There's only so many notes. I always tell what the different when people would say, how do you go from Madonna to Prong? I mean, although they do have a lot of similarities because they both came from the same place, from CBGB's.
Yeah.
That's where one of the places Madonna played for the first time. She had a band called the Breakfast Club, and they played there. Coincidentally, Prong came from CBGB's. Tommy was a sound man, and like Ted ran the door, and Mike booked the bands, or maybe that was the other way around. I got to get that part of the story in there, but I think that's kind of interesting. They both came from CBGB's, and I think I could see.
And they both skyrocketed in their way.
I think things could have, let's say, things would have been different for Madonna. Then I could see her as another kind of artist, more on the punk kind of side, like Patti Smith is a big influence on her. And when I was listening to that, I was like, oh, I see where a lot of things kind of come from now. But she landed in the pop world and reinvented it. Yeah. So, you asked about playing live. The Power of Three was recorded live.
All right.
So that you are hearing that too.
So it was recorded like the band like the old ways.
Yes.
The band all together recorded on tape.
Yes. Yeah. All analog. I mean, Flemming did it he did the same things he would have done for Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets. Yeah, same mics even. He's got the same gear.
Nice.
So when we were recording, we were all standing in the same room as close to the drum set as the headphone cables would reach. And there was no like, oh, I made a mistake there. Oh, okay, well, we'll just copy it and paste it. No, there was, all right, well, let's do it again. And all songs were done about 3, by the time we did it the 3rd time, we had nailed it. Because a lot of that is just getting familiar with your mix, what you're playing to. but it was recorded live in order and all to tape. It was the first day we got to Copenhagen, we recorded A Dark Horse.
Oh, okay.
The next day we did Delusions of Grandeur and Everything's Undone. The next day we did Blood Hungry Thirst and On My Mind. Next day Away From Here, Before the Morning Sun, and then we did it in 5 days. So we may have even done 3 songs in a day at some point. And then Kane and Max flew back to LA, and then it was just me and Flemming. And he switched it to where I was on night hours. He would pick me up at the apartment at 7 at night, like right when it was dark, and then we would work until like 7 in the morning. And so you go outside and it's snowing, it's cold, and it's dark, and it's no sounds. You don't hear any city sound. It's just quiet, and it was an amazing experience.
Great.
I can't wait for Flemming to do the next album.
Well, Monte, any last words that you want to address to the fans and people that want to check out the album?
Yeah, well, give it a listen. Also, if you're reluctant of checking out, there's a video for Before the Morning Sun, and that's our first video. Vince Edwards at Metal Blade filmed the video. Hey, Vince is awesome, and we're starting to talk about doing the next video. He's like, just give me let me rest for a second. That was a lot of work. It's like, what do you want to do for the next one? Yeah, definitely check the album out. I mean, there's something for everybody. That's what I want to be, an artist that has something for everybody. There is the old school thrash vibe. If you grew up like me with Metallica and Slayer and all that, then you of course, like Pantera and Prong and Sepultura, those bands, but with some Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and like all those. That's when music was amazing. We still talk about that. We still listen to that.
We're still influenced by that.
But a lot of things that happened afterwards, they were cool at the time, but it's not something that you go back and listen to still. To me, that's the true test. If you can go back and listen to what you used to listen to, and it's still cool. Alice in Chains' Dirt is still amazing. It's not. It wasn't just cool then. Like a lot of, like the, what's it, Gangnam Style,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
That was very popular 2 years ago.
Like,
Who the hell is listening to that right now? You know what I mean? And who the hell was listening to that then? But,
That's one thing that's well, Monty, thank you very much for taking the time. Good luck on NAMM. I'm definitely looking forward for the next album and see you live, of course. Thank you very much.
Yeah. First thing is just getting out there and playing all this in front of anybody and everybody that we can.
Definitely. Well, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.